Have you ever taken a spontaneous road trip that turned into the adventure of a lifetime? Last summer, I had a long weekend free, and my friends and I were brainstorming ideas for something fun to do. One of them, Jake, suddenly said, "Why don't we just hit the road? No plans, just drive." At first I thought he was joking, but the idea quickly caught on. With minimal planning, we packed our bags, grabbed snacks, and hopped into Jake's car. As we drove, we blasted our favorite songs and shared stories, laughing and enjoying the moment. We had no destination in mind, just a sense of adventure. As we cruised down the highway, we spotted a sign for a scenic lookout and decided to take a detour. The view was breathtaking. Rolling hills and lush valleys stretched out before us. We took countless photos and marveled at the beauty of nature. The unplanned stop felt like a gift. Later that evening, we stumbled upon a small town hosting a local festival. The streets were vibrant with food stalls, live music, and cheerful people. We decided to join in the fun and ended up dancing the night away. The sense of freedom and spontaneity was exhilarating. As we continued our road trip, we encountered unexpected challenges, like a flat tire in the middle of nowhere. Instead of letting it ruin our trip, we laughed and made the best of the situation, turning it into an impromptu picnic while waiting for help. By the end of the weekend, we had created memories that would last a lifetime. The unplanned road trip had brought us closer as friends, and we realized that sometimes the best adventures come from embracing spontaneity. In the end, it wasn't just a road trip. It was a journey of friendship and unforgettable experiences, reminding us that life's greatest moments often come from unplanned adventures. Have you ever received a package that wasn't meant for you, but it turned out to be the best surprise ever? It was a quiet Saturday morning, and I was lounging on the couch in my pajamas, scrolling through my phone. Suddenly the doorbell rang, interrupting my lazy day. I reluctantly got up to answer it and was greeted by a delivery driver, holding a large box with my name on it. Excitedly, I signed for it and hurried back inside. As I ripped open the box, I expected to find a new gadget I had ordered. Instead, I discovered a fancy robot vacuum inside. "What in the world?" I muttered, looking at the shipping label. It was addressed to someone named Jake. My heart sank as I realized my mix-up. I checked my order history and confirmed I hadn't ordered a vacuum. Instead of returning it, I decided to have a little fun. I thought, why not make the most of this situation? I texted my friends, "Guess who just got a robot vacuum?" Everyone was intrigued, and soon they were at my place for a robot vacuum party. Once they arrived, we gathered in the living room, and I unveiled my unexpected treasure. The vacuum was sleek and shiny, and I figured we could at least see if it worked. To my surprise, it had a quirky personality and responded to commands. We started giving it silly tasks like dance and clean, and it rolled around, bumping into furniture while we laughed hysterically. As the afternoon progressed, we decided to name it Robo Rockstar. We dressed it up in a little scarf and sunglasses, making it our honorary party guest. We even set up a mini obstacle course to see how well it could navigate through our living room. It became a competition to see who could give the best commands, and the vacuum's antics kept us entertained for hours. After a while, I decided it was time to contact the company to arrange for them to pick up the vacuum. I figured it was the responsible thing to do, but when I called, the customer service representative couldn't stop laughing. She told me that the vacuum could stay with me for the time being since they would send a replacement to the actual owner. That night we had a blast hosting Robo Rockstar's first dance party. We cleared the floor, blasted some music, and let the vacuum dance around while we cheered it on. My friends and I made silly TikTok videos of us dancing with our new robotic friend, which went viral among our circles. As the sun set, we sat down to enjoy pizza and reminisce about the day. I felt grateful for the accidental delivery and the fun it brought. Sometimes, unexpected deliveries can lead to unforgettable moments, and that day turned into one of the best weekends ever. As it turned out, that mix-up didn't just bring laughter, it sparked a day of unforgettable memories and a reminder that life is full of delightful surprises. Imagine sending out invites for a birthday party and accidentally welcoming a stranger instead. What could go wrong? It was my birthday, and I was excited to celebrate with my closest friends. I had planned a cozy gathering at my apartment with cake, snacks, and some party games. After sending out invitations through a group chat, I thought I had covered all my bases. However, in my excitement, I accidentally included my mom's friend, Mrs. Johnson, instead of my best friend, Sarah. I didn't realize the mistake until I saw Mrs. Johnson's name pop up on the group chat. When Mrs. Johnson texted me to confirm her attendance, I felt a wave of panic wash over me. What do I do? She's not my target audience for a birthday bash, I thought. My friends convinced me it would be fine, so I decided to make the best of it. Besides, I figured Mrs. Johnson could use a little fun, too. When the night of the party arrived, I was busy preparing when the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Mrs. Johnson standing there, beaming with excitement. "Happy birthday, dear," she exclaimed, handing me a gift. It was a lovely plant for my apartment, and I was touched by her thoughtfulness. As my friends arrived, I introduced Mrs. Johnson to them. At first, I was worried about how everyone would get along, but I quickly realized I had nothing to fear. Mrs. Johnson shared stories about her travels and wild experiences in her youth that left everyone in stitches. She had a knack for storytelling, and her animated expressions captivated the room. As the evening progressed, we played games and enjoyed cake, and I felt the atmosphere shift to one of pure joy. Mrs. Johnson joined in on our games, laughing and teasing just like the rest of us. I couldn't believe how well everyone was getting along. The party had taken on a life of its own, with Mrs. Johnson at the center of it all, leading us in spontaneous karaoke sessions and dance-offs. Later in the night, my friends and I gathered around to share our favorite memories. Mrs. Johnson chimed in with her own youthful tales, sharing her wild adventures from decades ago, which made us all laugh until our sides hurt. We were all surprised by how much fun we were having together, and I began to realize that I had underestimated her. When the party finally wound down, I turned to Mrs. Johnson and thanked her for making my birthday unforgettable. She smiled and said, "You know, sometimes the best surprises come from the most unexpected invitations." I couldn't agree more. That night, I learned that the most unexpected guests can turn an ordinary birthday into an extraordinary adventure filled with laughter and new friendships. Have you ever pressed send on an email and immediately regretted it, only to find out it changed your life forever? It was a typical Monday morning, and I was browsing job listings while sipping my coffee. The sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow in my living room. I stumbled upon a position at a tech startup that looked intriguing, one that required expertise I didn't possess. In my haste, I sent my application without thoroughly reading the requirements. I hit send and thought nothing of it, assuming I wouldn't hear back. To my surprise, I received an email the next day, inviting me for an interview. I was baffled. Did they even read my resume? I wondered. Panic set in as I realized I had little to no experience in the field they were hiring for. I debated canceling, but my curiosity got the better of me. After all, I had nothing to lose. On the day of the interview, I wore my best outfit, hoping to look the part even if I didn't feel it. When I arrived at the startup's office, I was immediately struck by the vibrant atmosphere. The walls were adorned with colorful artwork, and the sound of laughter echoed in the open space, filled with young professionals working on innovative projects. I felt out of place, but also excited. As I walked into the conference room for my interview, I was greeted by a panel of interviewers. They were all smiling and seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. During the interview, I shared my passion for technology and my willingness to learn, emphasizing my adaptability and eagerness to grow. The hiring manager was impressed by my enthusiasm, despite my lack of experience, and started asking about my previous roles. I spoke candidly about my past jobs, the challenges I faced, and how I had tackled them. The conversation shifted from a formal interview to a more relaxed discussion. I felt like I was talking to friends rather than interviewers. They shared their experiences, and I could see their passion for the company and the projects they were working on. By the end of the interview, I was feeling surprisingly confident. To my astonishment, they offered me an internship on the spot. What started as a simple mistake transformed into a fantastic opportunity. I spent the next year learning and growing in a field I had never considered, diving into projects I had previously only dreamed of being involved in. As I settled into my role, I formed friendships with my coworkers that felt like family. I was challenged daily, but I loved every minute of it. The experience opened doors I never knew existed, leading to exciting projects and networking opportunities. Sometimes, taking a chance can lead to unexpected adventures, and I'm grateful for that misdialed email. In the end, that simple mistake led me to a career I never thought possible, proving that sometimes fate has a funny way of guiding us when we least expect it. Ever had one of those days where it feels like the universe is playing tricks on you? Well, this morning, it was my turn. You'd think finding a car key wouldn't be a big deal, but somehow, I ended up in the world's most frustrating hide-and-seek game with myself. I was running late for a big meeting, the kind that you know you need to show up to early so you don't look frazzled. But naturally, I was already borderline panicking. My morning had already been a mess. My alarm didn't go off, my phone battery was at 5%, and I accidentally put salt in my coffee instead of sugar. Yes, it was that kind of morning. After slamming down the salty coffee and deciding I'd deal with caffeine deprivation, I grabbed my bag and coat, did a final check in the mirror, and reached for my car key, only to find that it wasn't there. I had left it right on the counter, hadn't I? I thought maybe I'd absent-mindedly placed it somewhere else, but a quick scan of the usual spots, my coat pockets, the counter, my desk, showed it wasn't there. All right, no big deal, right? I mean, it's just a key, and I was already running a little behind. But 5 minutes turned into 10, and 10 turned into a full-on hunt. At this point, I was practically tearing the place apart. I even found myself peering into places that made absolutely no sense. The fridge? Yes, I checked in there. The bathroom? Somehow, I thought maybe I'd taken it with me when I brushed my teeth. You know, when you start questioning your sanity? That was me, opening up every drawer, cupboard, and bag in the entire house. About 20 minutes in, I started losing hope. Maybe this was it. Maybe I'd never make it to that meeting, and I'd become that one person whose life unraveled over a missing car key. Just as I was about to give up, I stopped to catch my breath, hands on my hips. That's when I suddenly felt a lump in my pocket. In a moment of disbelief, I slowly reached down and, like the world's worst magician, pulled the key out of my pocket. My jaw dropped, and I couldn't help but burst out laughing. After all that, I had been carrying it the entire time. I laughed so hard I nearly cried, partly out of embarrassment, partly out of pure relief. Needless to say, I made it to my meeting, but not without a lingering feeling that life had just played a practical joke on me. And you know what? I'm glad it did. I learned that sometimes, when we're frantically searching for what we think we're missing, the answer's actually been right there all along. Ever had one of those moments where you're looking everywhere for something, only to realize you've been holding it the whole time? Sometimes it's life's way of reminding us to slow down and laugh at ourselves a little more.